most people can easily buy a house as long as they know how to save money the smart way. My name is Francisco, and I spent 7 years on the other side of the table watching how hundreds of people actually save their way into a home. I've seen exactly what gets someone the keys without much effort at all, but also what makes someone spend most of their life saving, cutting their quality of life to the bone, holding on to every single penny, and still not have enough to buy the house that they wanted. So if I had to start saving for a house in 2026, knowing everything I've seen as a mortgage advisor, this is exactly how I do it in 6 simple steps. Now, before we touch step 1, here's the one thing you have to get straight. Right now, you're probably doing the obvious thing, where money comes in, you put some aside, and you're waiting for the pile to get big enough. But the size of that pile is only half of what decides which house you can buy. The other half is the moves that you're making around it. So the car you financed this year, the credit card that you never quite pay down, and the savings number you picked in your head that nobody ever really checked for you, and any one of those can shrink the house that you qualify for months before you ever sit down to buy. So it was never just about saving more, but about saving it in order where every one of those moves is working for you instead of against you. That's why these 6 steps go in sequence, and each one sets up the next, starting with the first one. You pick the payment, not the house. And almost everybody does this the other way around. They open Zillow, find a house they love, and then try to make their money fit that house. And that's exactly how people end up approved for a place that they can't actually afford to live in. So I do the opposite. I wouldn't look at a single house until I knew the one number this whole thing runs on. The payment I can carry on a normal month for years without it owning me. Not the payment that a lender says I qualify for. The payment I can actually comfortably live with. Because those are 2 very different numbers. And what catches people off guard is that the payment is bigger than just the loan. That is what we call a PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. All of it in one monthly number. People budget for the loan part. Then the taxes and the insurance show up, and the real payment lands a few $100s above what they planned for. So here's how I'd land on that number. If you're comfortable paying $2,000 a month in rent right now, that $2,000 is your starting point because you already know that you can carry it. So you sit down with a lender, and instead of asking how much house can I get approved for, you tell them what you want your total payment to land around. $2,000 a month, taxes and insurance included, and ask them how much house that actually buys you. Now, the number is built around what you know you can carry instead of stretching your life around whatever the bank says that you qualify for. You're picking the payment first and letting it tell you the house, because cars break down, kids, they show up, and insurance goes up. Life just happens, and that extra bedroom that you stretch for becomes the reason that you're up at night. So pick the payment that you can carry on your worst month, not the best one, and lock that in. Because once you've got that number, the price of house that you should be looking at shows itself. And that leads us into the second step. You go get your real number before you save a single dollar towards it. Because if not, it does one of 2 things. Either the program you actually qualified for only needed 20 grand down, which means you just spent an extra 3 years saving for a house that you could have been living in this entire time. Or you aim too low and you finally go sit with a lender and it turns out that you're still 30 grand short and back to square one. Either way, you lost. And you lost for no other reason than nobody ever told you to get the number first. So before I put away a single dollar, I'd go sit down with a lender and have them tell me the exact down payment I need for the kind of house that I actually want. And instead of going to a bank, I'd go to a broker specifically, because a broker can look at 30, 40 different loan programs and find you the one with the lowest down payment for your exact situation. While a bank has its own little handful of products, and its whole job is to fit you into one of them, whether it's right for you or not, just to lower the risk. And that's exactly what we help people avoid. We pull your file, look at your actual situation, and find the loan that fits you instead of forcing you into whatever's on the shelf. So if you want to see how that works for your situation, there's a link in the description below to book a free call with my team. But regardless, the next thing that I do is get that number on paper. And that's something that we handle for you too, by the way. It's basically a document called a loan estimate. And it lays out your exact down payment, your monthly payment, and your closing cost. All of it in writing. So now you're saving towards an actual number your lender handed you. And while I'm sitting there, I lock in a 30-year fixed rate loan. And a 30-year fix is just a loan where your rate and your payment never move for the entire 30 years. The payment that you sign today is the same payment that you've got 10 years from now, because there's already enough in life waiting to blindside you. And your mortgage does not need to be one of them. Now let me kill the one myth that keeps more people renting than anything else. The 20% down myth. Almost a third of buyers genuinely think that they need 20% down of the price saved up before they are even allowed to buy. But the truth is, they don't. Most first-time home buyers are putting down closer to 10%, even 5%. There are programs that'll let you in with as little as 3% down. And if your credit isn't perfect yet, an FHA loan, which is just a government-backed loan with easier credit and down payment requirements, can get you in at 3.5%. So this whole idea that you've got to sit on the sidelines for years, saving up some giant pile before you're allowed to play, was never true. But there is one catch that the bank won't lead with. If you put down less than 20%, you pay something called private mortgage insurance, or PMI, every single month on top of your loan. And that money does absolutely nothing for you. It basically just protects the lender. So should that push you to sit there for years saving up the full 20? Of course not. Because the second the house goes up in value and you've paid the loan down to where you owe less than 80% of what it's worth, you drop the PMI completely and your payment goes down. So don't waste years scrapping together 20%. Get in sooner with 3 or 5% down. Let the house start building you equity from day one and drop that mortgage insurance later. So now you've got a real number to aim at. But before you go throwing money at it, there's something already in your life that's probably shrinking that number and you haven't even saved $1 yet. So step 3 is your debts. And that's the next and the third step. Probably the most important. Treating your debt like it's part of your down payment. Now this one catches good savers completely off guard because you can save up a beautiful down payment and still get told no. And it usually has nothing to do with how much you saved. It comes down to how much you owe every single month. Because when a lender is deciding how much house to hand you, your savings is the last thing they're probably looking at. Their main attention is on how much of your paycheck is already walking out the door every single month. Things like your car payment, your credit card minimums, your student loans, those buy now, pay later things you forgot you even signed up for. And the more of your income that's already spoken for, the less that they'll let you borrow. Which means that two people making the exact same money can qualify for two completely different houses purely based on what they currently owe. So I treat my monthly debt like it's literally part of the down payment, because for what you can actually buy, it does the exact same job. Every payment that you knock off the books hands you straight back the power to borrow even more. So how do you actually go after it? Well, you've got 2 ways. You knock out the highest interest rate debt first, which saves you the most amount of money. Or you knock out the smallest balance first, just so you clear one fast and feel like you're winning. Both of them work, so just pick one that you'll actually stick with, because a plan only works if you follow it and finish it. And while you're knocking debt down, do not turn around and add new debt. That's counterintuitive. Do not finance a brand new car the year you're gonna buy a house, or do something crazy like that. Because a $600 or $700 car payment can drop how much home you qualify for by tens of thousands of dollars. And people do it all the time without realizing that they just traded a whole bedroom for a car that's losing value the second they drive it off the lot. Now, I know exactly what the instinct is here. So you've got your number. So every dollar you get your hands on wants to fly straight at that down payment. But before you take that number and start throwing every single dollar that you've got at it, you've got to hold some back. Because what happens to the people who go all in is that they scrape every dollar together, they buy the house, and then the car breaks down or they lose a month of work, and now they can't make the payment on the thing that they emptied their entire life out just to buy. So you always keep a cushion. And that is step number 4. You keep anywhere from 3 to 6 months of living costs sitting in the bank before you ever touch a down payment for things like rent, food, gas, and your monthly minimum. The stuff that has to get paid, whether the rest of life cooperates or not. And on top of that, the lender actually wants to see that cushion, except they don't call it a cushion. They call it reserves. And to them, it just means that if something goes wrong, you're not going to go and miss a monthly payment. So that cushion isn't slowing you down at all. It's one more reason that they say yes. So now you've got your cushion, but that money is just sitting there. And that money that just sits loses. Money's like water, shouldn't sit still. And what most people should do is that they would pile up savings for years and let it rot in a checking account, earning absolutely nothing, while inflation eats at it the entire time. So you keep it in a high yield savings account, which is just a regular savings account that actually pays you a certain percentage every single year. You can pull it whenever you need it, but instead of earning nothing, it's paying you around 4% right now while you wait. All right, step number 5. Now that you've got your cushion set, you've got the place to put your money somewhere smart while it waits. But what most people do is that they'll pile up savings for years and let it rot in a checking account while earning absolutely nothing, while inflation chips away at it the entire time. So instead, you keep it in a high yield savings account, which is just a regular savings account that actually pays you. And you can pull it out whenever you want. I use one myself. The only difference is that this one pays you around 4% a year right now because of the Fed fund rate. Of that fat zero your checkings account has been paying you the entire time, now you can actually make money on your money. And if you're thinking of buying in the next year or two, do not make the big mistake of putting that money in the stock market. I don't care what everybody online is posting about their returns, because the market doesn't care about your timeline. You could save for 2 years, find the perfect house, go to pool your cash, and if the market drops 15% that month, now you're short by thousands right when you needed every single penny. So the money that you need soon stays safe and easy to reach, while money that you won't touch for 5 years or more goes into investments. But that's a conversation for another video. But for a house that you're buying soon, borrowing wins every time. So stick with it. And that leads us to the last and the 6th step. Your money's safe and it's growing. So the only thing that's left that's getting that pile to grow as fast as it possibly can. And honestly, this is the simplest step of the whole list. But don't let the simple fool you, because this is the one that decides whether you hit a number in 3 or 10 years. And there's only 2 ways to do it. You either spend less or you earn more. That's it. Those are your only 2 levers. Now, everybody would tell you to do both. And sure, you want both. But these 2 are not even close to the same size. And almost everybody puts all of their energy into the wrong one. Because cutting your spending is the one that everybody runs to first. And you should. I mean, I'd start there too. I'd go straight at the biggest leak first, like the truck with the $600 payment. Sell it. Go get something you can actually own outright, and just like that, you've got a $600 a month back in your pocket every month for years. And then you go after all the little stuff, all those subscriptions you forgot about, all the little things that you're paying for, and you cancel every single one that you don't use. And anything that you're about to buy that you really don't need, you just give it a day first, because most of the time, you wake up the next morning and you realize that you don't even want it anymore. Now, cutting, it only takes you so far. You can sell the truck, you can cancel subscriptions, but at some point, you still got to eat and you still got to pay rent. And that's where it stops. So that's where you bring in the other half of the equation. My favorite, making more. And that's the good part about it, is that there's no cap on it. So if you actually want to go and get your number to move fast, it was never really about cutting harder. It's about bringing more in. So for you, that may mean asking for a raise, starting a little something on the side, or selling stuff in your garage that you have not touched in years. You take whatever you're already good at and go make a few extra bucks with it on the weekends. Because cutting might save you a couple $100 a month, but bringing in more is the thing that will actually move your timeline. And whatever you do, do not let your spending creep up as you start making more, because this is the trap that everybody gets stuck in. They start making more money, so they start spending more money. They get a Porsche 911 GT3 RS, the bigger apartment, and the gap that was supposed to be closed by saving now disappears. People will go and double their income and still end up saving almost nothing or the same that they were saving before. And that's the whole point that I want you to walk away with. because the person who gets the house was never the one who saved the hardest. I've watched people drastically decrease their life quality level for years just to save more money and still get told no. And I've watched other people get the keys way faster on the same income just because they did it in the right order. The order is the part that nobody tells you about, and it's the part that actually decides everything. But saving your way to the table is only half of it, because the rate that they hand you when you sit down is almost never the best one that they've got. And most people have no clue that there's better on the table, let alone how to go out and get it. So go watch this video where I will show you on how to negotiate that rate down to the lowest that your file can possibly get.